have completed and 100%ed God of War Ragnarök, and I am more than happy to say that it has been an incredible journey from start to finish. The sequel has improved on almost every aspect from the previous game. The main traits that stood out for me, personally, are the game's gameplay, soundtrack and characters. The people over at Santa Monica Studio took everything great from the combat of the 2018 game and improved on it tremendously. I didn't think something like that would have been possible because of how perfect the gameplay from the previous game is. The combat is so clean and responsive that sometimes you're going to have difficulty putting the controller away. There are a lot of returning combos as well as new ones that are going to feel fresh and cool to execute. The way you traverse in combat is reinvented from the ground up. The areas are so much more open, allowing you to defeat your enemies in new interesting ways, letting you swing around and interact with the environment at times. I must add that there are much less runic attacks this time around that also feel pretty nerfed overall, especially my favorite, Wrath of the Frost Ancient. The game tries to compensate for the lack of runic attacks with the introduction of relics that work similar to the last game's talismans. There's a lot of cool relics to be found and used in combat. One other thing that feels a little nerfed at the beginning is Kratos' rage mode. The punches don't feel as powerful as they did previously, but later on you are introduced to new ways of using the rage, which explains the nerf well enough. There are a lot more puzzles this time around that are great, which allow you to use all of your weaponry in fun ways. There is enough variety that none become too tedious to do. At times though, you could get too many hints for the puzzles, even if you have the hints turned off. The game likes to hold your hand with the puzzles for some reason. One thing that I should not forget about are the bosses. Ragnarök goes all out, introducing many bosses, each with their own playstyle and tactics to defeat them. At points you will engage in gameplay sections that I can't say much about here, but sections that are executed fairly well, providing a break from the usual. The soundtrack in this game is incredible. They have dialed it to 100 with these tracks. The emotions that they can emit at any given moment is outstanding. Depending on the atmosphere the game wants to establish, it delivers and knocks it out of the park every time. The gameplay, story and background music lives in such a perfect harmony together. When it needs to be emotional, it is. When it needs to be epic, that is exactly what it is. One track in particular plays when a very beautiful moment plays out. The track just screams freedom and I love it. The main soundtrack still gives me goosebumps when I listen to it even now. It just holds this tremendous weight of meaning and emotion. God of War 2018 handles a handful of characters that are all strong and well written. Ragnarök, on the other hand, handles 3 to 4 times the amount, and it does it just as good, if not better, of a job with them. All the voice actors do a great job in bringing these characters to life. Of course, the writing allows for this to happen. The emotions translate so well. You can see a character's pain and hatred deep within, allowing for some really strong moments to transpire throughout the game. I love what they did with the characters like Thor and Odin, for example. It's like nothing I could have expected, and I love it. Thor owns every scene he is in. The interactions he has with Kratos are just legendary. Great suspension. Now, I do have to say that the characters can sound a little modern at times. Not something you would expect from Norse gods and Nordic people overall. But what is great with these characters is that the more you play, the more they grow on you. Christopher Judge as Kratos and Sonny Suljic as Atreus did an incredible job with their roles, just like in the previous game. Atreus feels like a teenager, which I think is pretty hard to do in entertainment. The voice actress for Freya brought the energy that is needed for the character. You can feel the pain in her performance. She's up there with my favorites. I do feel like some characters could have been in the game more, but all in all, the characters are what carry the story throughout. Some great character development can be found here, and Brock is still my favorite. I give God of War Ragnarok a 10 out of 10. It is an incredible experience that I would recommend anyone to play and immerse themselves in. This is a beautiful game that the developers put so much effort into every detail.